guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to go over an email that was sent from a subscriber. And this story, guys, this is definitely a comeback story for a guy that definitely started off in the wrong path. This is from a guy, he's 29 years old, and he's going to share his story about events that happened about 9 years ago when he started getting involved with his first girlfriend at the time. And you're going to see, guys, this guy was as clueless as can be. And believe me, he does so many things that you just want to slap the hell out of him. And believe me, he's got a lot of smacks coming and he knows it. But ultimately, he learns after a lot of major problems he goes through. Because you're going to see in this story, guys, this girlfriend of his, who's older than him, takes advantage of him in so many ways, it's beyond ridiculous. But because this guy had no, obviously, masculine role model to show him the path, had no self-respect for himself, he put up with this crap. And she was all too happy to take advantage of him. And don't get me wrong, she's the devil in this story, and you're going to see real quick. But also, he's also to blame because he allowed so many of these things to happen. And this is a perfect example, guys, why I do what I do. Why I do these videos to share these stories, to help guys learn this type of material so they themselves are not taken advantage of like this guy later in life. And it's also why I talk about how important it is for young guys in particular to have a masculine, strong male role model to help show them the path that they aren't susceptible to this crap. And also why it's so important that young guys from the get-go have the role model and the knowledge to always be on the path of bettering themselves, self-improvement, becoming the best they can be. Because when you're that way, you don't allow people to take advantage of you. When you think high of yourself and in a way that's not arrogant, you don't allow people in your life that are just mistreat you, take advantage of you. You cut them out just like that. But this guy didn't have that, and therefore this is what happens over and over. But fortunately, this does have a good, happy ending. So, it starts off, he says, Hi SSM. I've been listening to your content for quite a while now. I remember watching some of your videos where you were filming from what I assume was your living room. If memory serves, my first video of yours I saw was about Ephanus complaining about men wisely following the Pence rule. Anyway, I've been long thinking about sending my story and finally decided to send it in. I can already feel the concussion from all the smacks I'm going to get on my journey to finding RP. Yeah, dude, you're going to get it from me, and you're going to get it from dudes all over the world. But at least you'll learn your lesson. And by the way, thank you for following me for so long. I remember the old days when I first did the channel in my living room, when I started the channel for the hell of it, and I just did a few things on my couch in my condo there, and you actually saw me with my sunglasses off. But a lot's happened since. So he says here, I grew up in a small town, population about 7,000 people, that is very conservative and religious. We're talking about 13 churches in this town and more in the countryside. Obviously, this influenced my upbringing, and I bought into the Disney and Hallmark BS in regards to relationships. I was shy and an introvert, and this made me insecure with myself, leading me to be the class clown. I love to make people smile and laugh, but the problem with being a class clown is that no one, especially girls, take you seriously. Yeah, people find the class clown entertaining, but there's a world of difference between being a guy that is witty and as opposed to being the freaking goofball, literally acting like a clown trying to get attention. All right? Girls don't usually like those guys. They'll laugh, but they ain't going to take you seriously for relationships. Women like the guys that are confident and smooth, but say witty things that make them laugh and aren't trying to get laughs. There's a big difference. And he learned this. So to put it simple, I was pure and innocent as a lamb and as naive, having zero experience throughout high school despite being 6 feet tall and being a fit athlete. Wrestling at 160 and looking at my old photos, probably a top 5 to 10 handsome guys in my class, but I couldn't see it at the time. Well, it obviously didn't make a difference that you wrestled, therefore you did sports, which automatically makes you cool in high school, and that you were good looking and in shape, because it was who you were, it was your personality, and that trying to please everyone goofball personality obviously turned women off. And of course, you didn't have a good role model to teach you these types of things. I went on to wrestle in college in 2012 with a scholarship and talked to a few girls while I was there, but it didn't end up going anywhere, and after a semester I quit college because I couldn't decide on what to study, and college is far too expensive to just go to where I went. Shortly afterwards, I got a job at the lumber yard. This is all to paint a picture of how inexperienced and desperate I was getting into that. Living in a small town with nowhere to meet girls, I viewed college as my best and last chance to find a girlfriend and wife, and when I left, I fell into a bit of depression, which I did eventually get over. After a while, I found an advertisement for a singles Bible study, and eagerly yet nervously went where I found the source of this story, whom I shall call here and refer to as Hannah. I was 20 years old at the time, and she was 24. Okay, already we got a problem. He was desperate, and 2, he starts getting involved with a gal who is 4 years older than him. Now that's okay for hookups and casual dating and learning some things from an experienced girl as long as you're careful, but relationship material? No. And by the way, pay very close attention, guys, to her age, 24. This is the age that some women start to realize, okay, I've ridden the carousel for a while, I may begin to start looking for my nice guy to try to trap into a relationship and trap and sucker into marrying me so therefore I can get what I want. Remember that. Common theme in a lot of these stories. After a few sessions of the singles group, I asked Hannah out on a date, and to my relief and delight, she said yes. This was my first date ever, which kicked off our 2-year relationship. She was my first everything, hand-holding, kiss, touching, but we never actually had you-know-what. She had you-know-what with at least 5 guys, lived with several of them, and let me tell you, they were a bunch of doozies. One guy talked with ghosts. Another one claimed that God had told him the end of the world was coming and commanded him to buy an island to preserve humanity. Okay, a bunch of winners. So you're with this girl, and you made her your end-all, be-all of existence. The center of your universe. How does that usually work out for guys that do that? Smack. But you didn't know any better. And yeah, supposedly she had relations with 5 guys. But she found you, and guess what, as you mentioned here, no sex. Huh, imagine that. What happens to the guys that they settle for after they ride the carousel for a while? Those guys get the bare minimum or nothing. And that way they can rope the guys in to put a ring on their finger, and then the real ugly claws and fangs come out. But in her case, comes out earlier. Hannah lived with her parents about 30 minutes from where I work, and I lived with my parents, and we would hang out after I got off work every single day, and we'd go to each other's churches on alternating Sundays with a date to a steakhouse pretty much every Saturday. Smack. Every day you were hanging out with her. Every day. What about friends? What about purpose? What about improving yourself? I tell you all the time, guys, even if you got a really good girlfriend, once, maybe twice a week, that's it. The rest of the time, you got to be on your purpose. Doing things to improve your life. At the gym, doing activities, doing sports, hanging out with your bros, spending time with your family. This guy here, because he doesn't know any better and no role model, and having a girlfriend is like the end-all, be-all of human existence for him, he's with her every waking second he can. Does this show her that he's a prize? Does this show her that she got herself a great catch that she'd want to just tear his clothes off anytime she can get because he's such a great catch? No. He jumped in with both feet right away, and he's making her the center of his universe. Big mistake. And, I might add, going to the same steakhouse every Saturday, that's what nice guys do. Boring and predictable. And being with her every freaking night. Do you think the bad boys do that stuff? Oh, hell no. They at least keep things unpredictable. They keep her guessing, and they don't see her every single day. And I'm not saying this to be harsh. I am, actually, but I got to make this as clear as day for a lot of you dating relationship guys. Okay, had my moment. I had to give him some shit there, but he knows it's not personal. Okay, so he says, I also would drive for all this. If we're going to be at her family's place, I would drive there. And if you're going to be at my family, I would go pick her up, drive home, then drive her home later that night, and then go back home, believing it was my duty as a gentleman. Smack. It is not your job to be her chauffeur. But guys, you can see how he's behaving towards her. So it's going to be no surprise to you how she starts treating him real soon. And I don't mean like he's the king. This led to some sketchy driving from being so tired, and while dropping her back off, I would sometimes take 5-second blinks and have to pull over and do burpees to wake myself up. Hannah's parents work shifting schedules, so if I ever one of them would be home alone, she demanded we hang out with her family's place to essentially babysit her parents so they wouldn't be lonely. This meant we rarely had any privacy. Translation, she always wanted to make sure you came over or when you got together when one of the parents was home so you couldn't hook up. Therefore, she can make an excuse like, well, we're not having you know what because somebody's always around. Why isn't she eager to sleep with you, even though she's always had relations with other guys? Because you are the guy she settles for. You're the guy in the small town that's conservative religious. Now she's ready to settle and find a guy she can rope in to marry. And you're going to see I'm right. Shortly into our relationship, I found that she was texting one of her ex-boyfriends. I was upset and confronted her about it, but she insisted it was nothing romantic and she only wanted to be a friend to him because he had no friends. Like the dumbass I was, I accepted that, but later I let her know I was unhappy about it. Smack. No, she should not be texting and hanging out with some other dude. You're the boyfriend. And you gotta lay down the law and set boundaries, because when you don't, they'll take advantage and lose respect. And right here you said, but you let her know that you're unhappy about that. She's probably like, so? It's like our current president. He ain't happy that OPEC isn't increasing production, so he's going to let those guys in Saudi Arabia and OPEC know he's not happy about it. And they're laughing their asses off at him. What's that going to... I'm not happy about it. What impact is that going to do both for our president and this guy in this situation? Nothing. Not to get into politics, but I had to mention that. I think that's a pretty good analogy. As previously mentioned, she had you-know-what with her past boyfriends, but when it came to me, she said she had to back off because her faith didn't want her to taint the relationship. Yeah, sure. Yeah. It was all about the faith. Nothing to do with you. Since I'm fairly traditional, I was okay with saving her for marriage, though I was inwardly kind of disappointed. Then why don't you try to replace her? Surely there are other women in your town, or you have a car and you can go to other places to meet other gals. Dating apps are in existence at this point in time. There are other options. There's other ways. This is why when you build a self-esteem and self-confidence about yourself, if I'm not being treated well and not getting any action because this is not a romantic relationship, you can go elsewhere. But no, he doesn't think too highly of himself and he's inexperienced, doesn't have a good role model. And this is the shit he puts up with. This is why I teach what I teach. In hindsight, it's a blessing because it would be my luck if I'd gotten her pregnant. She could never seem to hold down a job for more than a month and then would take her a while to find a new one. Shocker. About a year of dating and her being unemployed and not looking, for over 3 months, Hannah started bringing up the topic of marriage. I told her that was not happening. My job paid okay, but I didn't make enough for the both of us, much less a family, so until she could get a new job and hold it, that was completely off the table. Well, good for you for finally showing some balls. I'm proud of you there, bro. You're starting to learn, but you make a lot of mistakes still after. Not to mention my trust was still hurting from her being in contact with her ex and at least one other guy who tried to call while we were driving back to my place. You should never allow this shit, dude. Ever. But because she has no respect for you, she keeps doing it and testing and testing and testing. I got to answer the phone. He hung up in a panic. When I asked her, WTF, it was the same story with her ex. He's just a friend. He doesn't have anybody else. He's lonely. Why don't you trust me? Give me a break. Blah, blah, blah. I was upset, but being the weak blue pill beta I forgave her. Smack. You know, you're a religious guy. Take all these situations as the Lord's way of sending you a message to get away from this broad. But you weren't listening. Every day when we'd hang out, she would regale me with the tales with all the new ways she was the victim that particular day. At work, she says everybody was being mean to her. Everybody was so unfair. How could her mom make her do chores? It was the exchange they had agreed to, so she didn't pay rent so long as she helped keep the house clean. Yeah, she sounds like a great girlfriend. Great wife material, I might add. She eventually got employed as a resident nurse for a special needs home, and on her drive home, she would always call and complain about her work. Surely there's other women in your area, bro, you could have had. It got to the point where I cringed whenever I saw her name on the caller ID, yet I stayed. It's amazing how scary and much suffering one will put up with for the sake of safety and familiarity. It wasn't long after that I found out she was texting 3 new guys. I was upset and confronted her, but once again I forgave her, believing I was doing my part as the man of the relationship. She wouldn't feel a need to look elsewhere, and I need to try harder. Again, back to the movie crap. If I just show how much of a nice guy I am, how understanding I am, and how patient, then she'll just see me as the wonderful guy I am, and then she'll truly love me. It doesn't work that way. That's the bullshit they sell in the movies, and people buy into this crap. Now she has to talk to 3 dudes. You're not enough. The first guy wasn't enough. The second guy wasn't enough. And now the third guy clearly won't be enough. After we were getting closer to our 2-year anniversary, I can't believe you spent 2 years of life with this broad. And I was starting to think if proposing, since we had been dating a while, and it seemed like a natural next step. Smack. Don't your parents say anything about her? Aren't your parents aware of this? Like, son, she's trouble. Get rid of her. Something. Or friends. I was driving Hannah home this one night. There's a fishing pond halfway between it, and it had been a drought that year, and we had received some heavy rain, and I wanted to drive in and check out the water level. She starts panicking, asking me what I was doing. I told her I wanted to check out the water level at the pond, and she started freaking out, begging and pleading for me not to do that and just to take her home. Okay. Dumbfounded, I turned off and continued towards her place. I was shocked. What the heck was that all about? And then it struck me. After almost 2 years, she still didn't trust me. She either thought I was going to try to do something awful to her or something along those lines. It was the only reason for her to freak out like that. After I dropped her off, I was looking back at our relationship and realized we'd only been isolated together on the drives home and a couple times where we went to watch a movie or something together in the basement. Other than that, we were always in a public with one of her parents at her insistence. She wanted me to marry her, but didn't trust me to be alone with me. Make that make sense. Well, makes perfect sense to me. She was 24, now she's 26. She's ready to get a husband, therefore she doesn't have to work, and you could be that sucker to pay all the bills, right? And what else? She's done her carousel riding phase, so she's giving you the bare minimum, but in this case, nothing, and you stay along. She treats you like crap, disrespects you, all those guys. That's what it's all about. Believe me, you treating her like gold is causing her to treat you like shit. And I guarantee if you treat her like shit, she'd treat you like gold. Because all those other Chad and Tyrone types that she was hooking up with before probably treated her like crap. And sad world, but that's how a lot of times it is. Now, this is an extreme case because she's just a piece of crap. The next day, I go to her place to pick her up at our daily hangout, and she wanted to clean up before we left. Her phone went off, and on the notification it was from a text from a contact called Handsome Andy. I was crushed. I loved her with all my heart. Smack. Every time I found out that she was at least looking to see what her options were, I forgave her and redoubled my efforts to be a better boyfriend because it had to be my fault. Again, this is why I do what I do, guys, to help guys realize their self-worth, building themselves up to be the best they can be so they don't take this crap. They don't think this is all there is in life. But it was at that moment I realized it wasn't me. It was her. I'd given her so many chances to treat her like gold, and she was still willing to do that. What if we got married and she still did that? How could I trust her? I couldn't. I was angry. When she got out, she could tell I was upset and asked what was wrong. I blew up and told her we were done and what I'd seen. I left as she cried, begging me to give her another chance and that it was a misunderstanding and to let her explain. Explain what? But I was done. I'd finally reached the limit of my tolerance. The next day, she drove to my workplace in tears, begging me for another chance. Isn't it amazing? The power of walking away. Unfortunately, this guy took him all this time and all this crap until he finally walked away. And look how she's acting. When I refused, she threatened to go ditch diving if I didn't take her back, intentionally driving into a ditch to cause self-harm. I told her to go for it, as I was no longer any of my concern. Eventually, she left in tears. I was free at last. In the weeks that followed, I felt more and more relieved every single day to be rid of her and fully came to realize how much poison our relationship was filling my veins with. My only regret is she got to keep the dog we had gotten together. Oh, hell no. You should have went back and gotten that dog. But look at that, guys. 2 years with that piece of garbage. 2 years. It's unbelievable. But if this is what it took for him to finally learn to see the error of his ways, which he did, then one could say it's worth it because he's now 29 years old and he's older and, he still has a whole lot of life to live, so he'll be okay as long as he learns. I spent the next year or two baffled, scratching my head on how she could do this. If she was so unhappy, she needed to look for another man. Why didn't she just leave? Because she's deceitful, and she's a liar, and she's a piece of crap. There's a whole laundry list of reasons why. But remember, she's a piece of crap, we can all agree, but also you enabled her behavior. You acted weak. You just kept enduring and putting up with crap, and she kept testing you and testing you and testing you. You never laid down the law. You never drew up any boundaries. This is what happens. Now, I'm not saying all gals are like her in this extreme, but a lot are. And we'll have it in varying degrees. Women do not respect weakness. Soft guys, pushovers, doormats. You see that crap in TV and the guys will get the girl, but in real life, it doesn't work this way. It was then that I remember my older brother mentioning a group called MG Tao. I don't remember what exactly he had said, but I remember he spoke of it as being more of a woman hater group. I decided to check it out, as I don't like to accept second gag representations. I like to hear a person or group's beliefs for myself and judge it off of that. It was then that I found one channel. On the first video, the first thing out of his mouth was there was no reason for a man to get married. My jaw must have hit the floor. It flew in the face of everything I had been raised to believe, and I think my arm hair literally bristled. I sat there waiting for someone to call in and tell him how wrong he was and why, but every reason brought up was swatted down hard. I sat there for quite a while, running it over again and again, and began to realize he was right. This led me to finding more of his content, which led me to another channel, which led me to yet another channel, and another channel, which led me here. I learned so much about female nature, and I want to thank you for what you do. You're welcome, brother. I'm glad I can help. And I will be here as long as I don't get kicked off to help you and all the other guys out there. And now you can take what you've learned and help out other guys that had no knowledge. He says, it's been 7 years and I'm 29 now. I'm currently trying to overcome my inhibitions and gain experience, as that nightmare relationship is still the extent of my experience. I'm still a virgin, have no game, and I'm shy and I'm an introvert, but I'm working on my purpose and have acquired about $2 million worth of farmland at half price, and I'm working towards taking over the family farm. Good for you, brother. That's awesome. You're on your grind. Now imagine all the things you could have gotten done on your grind, those 2 years you wasted with that broad. But at least put a silver lining on it. That led you to learning a lot of things, led you to channels like mine to help improve yourself, and here you are. You always got to put a silver lining on things. You got to find good in any bad situation, as difficult as it can be. I have a place of my own, a truck, a car, and a boat, and I'm enjoying life. I am, however, one of those mythical relationship types you talk about, and now know what to look for and when to drop and move on. I've been going to the gym again, and I'm forging my body stronger. I've let myself go, and I weigh 235. My job is physical, so I never get weak, but I grew a belly due to my poor diet. It says it's obvious at a glance I'm strong, but it's obvious from my love of shit food is holding me back. I'm back to my grind and hitting the gym every time I go, 2 to 3 hours a day, 3 to 7 times a week. Keep up the good work, SSM. I love listening to you while making deliveries up for my lumberyard job. Well, bro, thank you very much for sending in your story. And even though I want to smack the shit out of you many times, I'm glad that you learned and you're doing better and you got rid of her. Now, what I want you to keep doing, man, is just keep learning. Keep listening to videos like this. I'm not the only game in town. There's other great channels out there, you know. And keep growing as a man. And that $2 million farm you got, cool. Make the most of it you can. And keep reinvesting your money and doing things like that and working hard. But as for you mentioned about transforming your body, I think it's awesome. You're hitting the gym and exercising and lifting and doing all that. But he said going to the gym 3 to 7 times a week, that's too much. You're overtraining, okay? You should have at least 1 day a week you do no working out whatsoever, nothing. The only exercise you should do is when you get out of bed and walk around and get in your truck and get out of your truck, and that is it. The body needs rest. If you're going to beat the crap out of it in the gym, it needs to recuperate. So no matter what, 1 day a week, no working out. Let that body rest. And don't do the same muscles every single day in a row. The muscles need time to recuperate. So if you are doing, say, your upper body on a Monday and your legs on a Tuesday, I'm just picking a thing, don't do your upper body 2 days in a row. Let the muscles fully recuperate before you do them again. But in regards to losing weight, the most important thing is diet. Okay? A lot of people will hit the gym, as you say, 3 to 7 times a week, but they won't do anything to change their diet. It's the shit food that's making you overweight. Now, I'm not a registered dietitian or a nutritionist, so this is entertainment, little disclaimer. And before you change your diet, speak to a doctor. But the point is, I got to say is, you need to cut all the shit out of your diet, okay? 90% of the time, you need to eat good, clean, healthy food. And the biggest things you need to cut out of your diet almost altogether is alcohol. That does nothing for you. It's going to make you fat. Takeout and fast food and processed food, awful for you. Sugar products, awful for you. And not to mention dairy. Dairy is really going to put on the pounds. That's butter, that's ice cream, that is cheese, that type of stuff. You can have these things I mentioned in small doses, but if a lot of what I'm mentioning is a big part of your diet, cut it out. And I promise you, you will see a major positive change in time. But as long as you eat a bunch of garbage, you can hit the gym all you want. You're not going to make a major difference. And that's a lot of time in your day, 2 to 3 hours in the gym. You can scale back to about an hour to hour and 15 minutes, 4 to 5 days a week between cardio and lifting, and you'll be pretty good. So, but no matter what, 1 day a week, you're not doing any exercise. So change your diet, eat healthy, start learning how to cook things. If you don't know how to cook, look up on YouTube how to cook good, healthy meals. You'll be good to go. And by the way, grilled chicken, one of the best. So, but anyhow, bro, good job. I'm glad you're on your purpose. So guys, this is the point of the whole story here, is why it's so important for guys to have a masculine role model, be taught these things, educate themselves, become the best they can be. Because if they do, people can't take advantage of them like this. And you need to have this knowledge, because there are people out there, men and women, goes both ways, that will take advantage of you. So hopefully this story will help some people out to recognize these things. But you can't make the girl the center of your universe. You can't put her on the pedestal. You can't go around like these guys in movies being the gentleman and doing everything for her, never checking her on a BS, because that is only going to encourage someone like this to take advantage of you further, literally punishing you for being so weak. So anyway, guys, that is it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. Let this guy know what you think. Give him a high five for, after you give him some smacks, give him a high five for turning his life around, doing well. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.